Have you ever clicked a familiar looking link only to be whisked away to somewhere you didn't expect? That misdirection is the theme of our season 1 finale. Welcome back to the Vulnerability Chaining Masterclass. This is episode 8 in our first season, where we've been systematically chaining small vulnerabilities into high impact breaches. If you're joining us for the first time, don't worry. You can always go back and watch episode 7, where we used DOM XSS and content security policy bypasses to hijack a session. Today we'll see how innocuous redirects can be the first domino that topples your entire security. Let's dive in. Before we jump in, a quick reminder. Everything you're about to see is for educational purposes only. Get permission before testing, disclose vulnerabilities responsibly, and never misuse these techniques. Our goal is to improve security together, not to enable malicious behavior. Here's the roadmap for this episode. We'll start with the foundations of open redirect vulnerabilities, what they are and why they are so often overlooked. Then we'll examine OAuth security flows, comparing the different methods and pointing out hidden pitfalls. From there, we'll walk through the full attack chain, showing how an attacker can move from a simple redirect to a stolen OAuth token and finally to an account takeover. We'll spotlight 2 recent CVEs affecting Keycloak and Authentic, and then look at a real-world attack from the Shiny Hunters group that abused the device flow in Salesforce. Finally, we'll review the latest account takeover statistics, explore detection and prevention techniques, and end with a roadmap you can use to harden your own environment. Let's start with the silent gateway itself, the open redirect. At its core, an open redirect happens when a web application blindly takes user-provided input and uses it to send the browser somewhere else. Picture clicking a login button and being told, after you sign in, we'll send you back to the page you came from. If the site doesn't validate that return URL, an attacker can swap it out for their own domain. Because the redirect comes from a trusted site, victims often don't notice anything amiss until it's too late. Historically, many security teams have dismissed open redirects as low risk. Yet research has shown that when combined with other weaknesses, they facilitate a majority of OAuth token theft attacks. Treat them like the unlocked side door they are. Attackers have become very creative in exploiting open redirects. They'll abuse URL parsing quirks, such as inserting an @ symbol, such as target.com at evil.com, to trick the browser into sending you to evil.com. They'll hide malicious domains in URL fragments, hash, or traverse directories to escape a whitelist. Double encoding is another trick, encoding https:// twice so that simple filters miss it. On the slide, you can see common patterns and corresponding regexes to hunt for them. The key takeaway is that naive string matching is not enough. You need precise allow lists that match entire redirect URIs. Open redirects on their own just send people to the wrong place. The real damage happens when they intersect with OAuth, the industry standard protocol for authorization. OAuth defines several flows. The authorization code flow is the most secure because it splits the process into 2 steps and with PKCE and a state parameter thwarts code interception. The state value is a random string that ties the authorization request to the user's session and prevents cross-site request forgery, while PKCE adds a proof of possession to stop attackers from reusing codes. The device flow is designed for TVs and smart speakers. It displays a short code for the user to type into a browser on another device. The convenience comes at a cost. Those codes last for only a few minutes, typically 5 to 30, and can be phished just like a multi-factor authentication code. Finally, there's the implicit flow, which returns the token directly in the URL hash. That makes it easy for an attacker to grab it via an open redirect or malicious script. Modern guidance is clear. Avoid implicit flow entirely and always use the authorization code flow with PKCE and a state parameter. Let's connect the dots. Step 1. An attacker discovers an open redirect on your authentication server, such as https://auth.example.com/login ? Redirect to equals https://evil.com. They craft a phishing email that uses this redirect as bait, and because the link points to your domain, it looks legitimate. In step 2, the victim is routed to the legitimate OAuth authorization endpoint, but with the malicious redirect_URI parameter. After the user authenticates, the server dutifully sends the authorization code to the attacker's domain. Without strict enforcement of registered redirect URIs, the server believes this is legitimate. Step 3. The attacker collects the authorization code from their server. If there is no PKCE challenge and no proper state parameter, nothing stops them from exchanging that code for an access token. Finally, in step 4, they use the token to call protected APIs, bypassing multi-factor authentication and taking over the account, often within minutes. This change shows how a seemingly innocuous open redirect can be the first domino in a full account takeover. To see this in action, our walkthrough demo uses a real vulnerability, Keycloak CVE 2024-7260. Versions of Keycloak before 24.0.7 contained an open redirect via the referrer and referrer_URI parameters. We construct a URL like in example step 1. A phishing email encourages the victim to click this link. They see the familiar Keycloak login page and enter their credentials. Immediately after logging in, Keycloak sends a 302 redirect to the unvalidated referrer_URI. This includes the authorization code or token, which the attacker's server captures. A simple curl command then exchanges the code for a bearer token, and the victim's account is compromised. Watching the sequence should drive home how a minor misconfiguration cascades into a major breach. And if your environment runs Keycloak, update to version 25 or later and implement strict redirect allow lists. Let's unpack the CVE. Keycloak is an identity and access management system widely used in enterprise. In September 2024, researchers found that versions before 24.0.7 allowed open redirects through the referrer and referrer_URI parameters in the authentication service. Attackers could manipulate these parameters to send admin users to a malicious site immediately after login. The vulnerability has a CVSS score of 6.1 and is patched in versions 24.0.7 and later. To remediate, upgrade to the patched version, implement a strict allow list for redirect URIs, add WAF rules to block unknown referrer parameters, and verify the fix. Even if you don't use Keycloak, the mitigation techniques, patch promptly, validate all redirects, and monitor logs apply to any identity platform. Our second spotlight is Authentic, CVE 2024-52289. Authentic is another popular open source identity provider. Its OAuth implementation allowed wildcards in the list of acceptable redirect URIs. If no URIs were configured, the system would accept the first redirect_URI presented and treat it as trusted. Attackers could register a domain that matches the wildcard pattern. Imagine fooexample.com matching foo.example.com and steal authorization codes. The vendor patched this in releases 2024.8.5 and 2024.10.3 by escaping regex meta characters and enforcing exact matches. In practice, exploitation is simple. Craft a URL with a malicious redirect URI, trick a user into clicking it, capture the code, and exchange it for an access token. 2FA doesn't help because the OAuth flow completes before MFA is enforced. To protect yourself, update to the latest version, replace wildcard URIs with exact callback URLs, enable PKCE, and scan your configurations for any patterns that include asterisks or unescaped dots. Logs can also reveal abuse. Look for unusual domains in redirect URI parameters and audit any that you don't recognize. Open redirects and insecure OAuth implementations aren't just theoretical. In 2025, the Shiny Hunters group, also known as UNC6040, executed an audacious campaign targeting major enterprises. According to the FBI, the attackers combined voice phishing with the OAuth device flow. They called employees pretending to be IT staff and directed them to visit login.salesforce.com/setup/connect and enter a code to resolve a support ticket. Behind the scenes, the attackers had created a malicious application in a Salesforce trial account and generated a device code. When the victim entered that code, Salesforce issued an OAuth token to the attacker, bypassing multi-factor authentication entirely. With valid tokens in hand, the group queried Salesforce APIs and exfiltrated data from companies like Google, Qantas, and Workday. The FBI Flash warns defenders to monitor for multiple device approvals within short windows and to enforce IP-based restrictions on device flow approvals. This incident shows that attackers will gladly pick up the phone to phish a code, and that lax redirect and token validation can convert a code into a breach. The numbers behind these attacks are sobering. Proofpoint's July 2025 research noted that nearly every organization they monitored, 99%, was targeted by account takeover attempts, and 62% experienced at least one successful breach that year. Even multi-factor authentication isn't a guarantee. 65% of the accounts that were compromised had MFA enabled, demonstrating how attackers chain social engineering with protocol weaknesses to slip around our defenses. Consumer attacks are on the rise too. The SIFT Q3 2024 Digital Trust Index found that almost a quarter of consumers, 24%, fell victim to account takeover, up from 18% in 2023. Verif's 2025 fraud report recorded a 13% year-over-year increase in account takeover incidents, alongside a 10% rise in multi-accounting cases. The trend is clear. This problem is growing, and you need layered defenses. So how do we fight back? First, focus on detection. Monitor your OAuth flows and log authorization code exchanges. Look for multiple device authorizations in a short window, an indicator of phishing campaigns, and flag any unusual redirect patterns. Behavior analytics can help by correlating IP addresses, users, and redirect URIs to spot anomalies. The slide shows a sample SIM query that looks for requests where the redirect URI parameter points to an untrusted domain. On the prevention side, validate all redirects with a strict allow list. Don't allow wildcards, subdomains, or regex in your callback URLs. Use the authorization code flow with PKCE and a state parameter. Keep token lifetimes short. 5 minutes for codes and 1 hour for access tokens is a good starting point. Edge proxies like Nginx or a WAF can block requests that contain suspicious redirect parameters or disallowed domains. If you do detect misuse, revoke all active tokens immediately, rotate credentials, and force users to re-authenticate. Then investigate the source IP so you can block them before the attacker pivots elsewhere. Finally, let's turn these recommendations into a plan. In the first week, deploy WAF rules to block open redirect attempts, shorten authorization code lifetimes, and inventory all endpoints that accept a redirect URI parameter. Within weeks 2 to 4, implement PKCE across all OAuth flows, add seam detection rules for suspicious redirects, and push URL validation to the edge layer. By month 2, focus on strategic improvements. Isolate your OAuth servers, build a microservice to manage allowed redirect URIs, and train developers on proper OAuth security. Each phase should include testing. Run WAF bypass suites, pen test your OAuth flows, review logs regularly, and update allow lists as your applications evolve. Your goal is not only to patch known vulnerabilities, but also to build a culture of secure implementation. This brings us to the end of Season 1 of our Vulnerability Chaining Masterclass. We've explored how individual weaknesses, XSS, CSP bypasses, open redirects, can be combined into powerful attack chains. We'll be back with Season 2 on November 11th, 2025, where we'll dive deeper and build on everything we covered so far. Till then, we have exciting content lined up on Bug Bounty and Beyond channel. If you found this useful, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the drop. See you in Season 2. Stay curious, stay responsible.